everyone, and welcome to day 195 as I shift myself over. Speaking of shifts, haha, really bad segue. I wanted to talk to you guys today about a video that I've seen, and I've kind of agreed with, I kind of haven't. For those of you who haven't seen it, I'll leave it down there. And I know, I usually say I do that, and then I don't. But basically, the video is about this valedictorian who, during her graduation speech, basically slams the public school system. Now, her arguments are extremely valid. Her argument is that the institutionalized nature of public school systems leads to the students' failures, because they're learning about things that they aren't passionate about, and that real learning comes from passion. I've had to think about this one a lot, because when I first heard this speech, I was completely with her. But then the more and more I thought about it, the more I realized that an institutionalized system is needed. However, we should still work our best towards gearing students for their passion. We should start gearing students towards what they're passionate about. And we shouldn't tell them what they're passionate about. We can't give them some standardized tests that'll automatically determine what they're passionate about, because the answers they give on that test then might not be the same answers they give on that test a year later. So, what we need to do is we need to set up a system that allows kids to sort of explore the different fields. And an institutionalized system helps do that, because it has core requirements that you need to take. But, at the same time, there's those core requirements that makes the learning experience miserable. So what we need to do is we need to create more classes that gear these certain subjects towards a particular bend. Like, there's a difference in biology. You don't need to know about molecular biology if you're learning about environmental studies. And you don't need to know about genetics if you're studying the biospheres or anything like that. They're two completely different subjects that you don't really need to understand. You can have a basic, and I'm talking like, oh, genes hold information. That's the most basic you need to go when you're studying biospheres or looking at food webs and analyzing and stuff like that. I mean, if you're looking at the evolution of the food web, then yeah, you kind of need to know about genetics and the difference between natural selection versus the other forms that were like punctuated equilibrium, which was the proposition before evolution. Anyway, yeah, but I mean, what we really need to do is create a bend for classes. That way, when the student is learning a particular subject, they're learning about the thing that interests them. Because when you're interested in a subject, odds are you'll pay attention. Trust me, this is coming from a person who just got done with high school. I did really well in the classes that I wanted to because I paid attention. And yeah, don't get me wrong, it's not always just the system. It's not always just a faulty system, it's the people within the system. This is true. But at some core level, it is the system itself. I mean, like I said, we can't blame 100% on the system, but we can blame most of it on the system, because the system is what causes teachers to lose this passion. Because I know that when most of my friends who are going into teaching, their whole drive is the fact that they're feeding students who have a passion for something. It isn't because they have to meet some standardized requirement for all of their teaching methods. No, they're there to help students grow. And how can you help a student grow when you're trying to standardize every little thing that they're trying to learn? So, while I do agree with her that there is something wrong with the system, there is also a need for it. Because it's the system that helps build more well-rounded individuals. Although the results might not be as desirable as we want, because there's this thing called apathy within the system, and unfortunately, it's running rampant. I mean, at my school, usually a good 40% of the kids drop out, thereabouts. Like, my class started at 1100 and we graduated at 750. And that was a good year. I mean, the school has had worse years. So, apathy is something that is a huge plague. And unfortunately, there isn't a cure for it. The only soother I can think of for apathy is passion. When you can get a student who doesn't care into something that he does care about, odds are at least the grades in that class will raise. It isn't 100% that the grades in other classes will raise, but at least he's learning something. But what's really the biggest issue that I see with the education system is this. I mentioned this in a video like 3 days ago, but it's true. We're constantly lowering our standards to make sure that everyone in school is somehow fulfilling some arbitrary standard of making themselves socially fit. We shouldn't be lowering our standards when it comes to whether or not someone is able to be a productive member of society. We should never lower that standard. In fact, we should raise it. We should make it harder for people. Because the more and more we bring ourselves into this decline, the more and more our society will decline, to the point where we're a bunch of dundering idiots, like in Idiocracy. And so something needs to be done about this system. Something needs to be done about the system as a whole, because quite frankly, it's failing us. And it's obvious it's failing us, but people aren't ready to realize that. Instead, they want to go on and continue in this delusion that the system is working and that there's only certain individuals who fail to follow the system. And that isn't the case. We lose a lot of people. We lose a lot of people in the system. That's a given. It's just a matter of whether or not we want to look at it that way. Do we say, hey, maybe there's something wrong with the system, or do we say, hey, maybe there's something wrong with the individual? When is it the point that we have to acknowledge whether or not the system is faulty and when the person is faulty? My guess is when we're losing about as many people as we are now. Then we need to realize that the system itself is faulty, not the individuals. The individuals are a product of their environment, and if the environment is faulty, then they become faulty. And at this point, their environment is the system. So, 1 + 1 = 2. That's the basic way that I think of it. Anyway, so my question for you guys is, do you think there's something wrong with the public school system at this time? Do you think that there are changes that need to be made? And if so, what type of changes do you think we should make? That's just my mind on the matter. Sorry it was a bit rambly, and odd pauses and awkward pauses and stuff like that, but whatever, you guys are used to it by now. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Carpe diem.